So I asked ChatGPT this question. If you were the devil, how would you destroy a relationship? I asked it to be specific. But before I share the answer that I got, I just want to take a moment to thank everyone that has subscribed to my channel. We recently hit 200 subscribers, and now I know that may not sound like a lot to some, but I'm grateful for each and everyone who found my videos helpful and interesting enough to hit that subscribe button. In this channel, I provide my viewers with no BS motivational relationship advice sprinkled in with some biblical wisdom. Now, my goal for this channel is to build a supportive community where, we uplift each other and empower each other to overcome adversity, whether in relationships or life's challenges, so we can grow together. So, if that sounds like something that you'd enjoy, then go ahead and smash the like button so the YouTube algorithm can recommend my videos to more wonderful viewers like yourself. And make sure you subscribe if you haven't already and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any videos the moment I upload them. But back to today's video. What did ChatGPT tell me when I asked it, if you were the devil, how would you destroy a relationship? Be specific. And this is what it said. I want to share it. If I were the devil, I wouldn't destroy a relationship overnight. No, that would be too obvious. Instead, I'd break it down piece by piece, planting small, almost unnoticeable seeds of destruction that would slowly grow into a forest of resentment, insecurity, and disconnection. I wouldn't need to do all the work myself. I'd make them do it for me. Here's exactly how I'd do it. I'd erode trust with small, innocent doubts. I would not start with blatant infidelity or lies. No, I'd begin with subtle suggestions like whisper in their minds that make them second guess their partner. I'd whisper in their ear to ask themselves, why did they take so long to text back? Who was that person they smiled at the grocery store? Why are they being friendly with everybody? Who sent them a text message? At the beginning of the relationship, these thoughts can be easily dismissed, but over time they pile up like bricks, building a wall of suspicion between them. I'd make them question things they never would have before. The way their partner laughs at a joke, the tone of their voice, the way they look at their phone. Suddenly everything is a clue to something fishy, and you're trying to play FBI. I wouldn't need to prove anything. I just let their imagination run wild. They start checking their partner's social media, noticing when they're online but not responding, analyzing their texts for hidden meanings. And before they know it, trust isn't just weakened, it's shattered. I would fill their thoughts with full-blown paranoia and insecurities. I'd amplify miscommunication and pride. I'd make sure they think they're communicating, but in reality, they'd just be talking past each other. Communication isn't just about speaking, it's about understanding, and I'd ensure that understanding was the last thing happening. One partner will say, I feel like you don't listen to me. The other would hear, you're a bad partner. Every word will be twisted, every intention misread. I'd make sure their emotions control their responses. Instead of listening, they'd react. Instead of clarifying, they'd assume. And worst of all, I'd make them prioritize being right over being happy. I'd tell them, don't apologize first. They should. If they really loved you, they just know what's wrong. Why should you have to explain yourself again? Pride would become their downfall. They sit in separate rooms, staring at their phones, waiting for the other person to make the first move. And as silence stretched, so would the distance between them. I would introduce external influences. A relationship can survive a lot, but outside influence, that's where I'd hit hardest. I'd make sure their closest friends and family, people they trust, begin planting doubts instead of support. A friend would say, if I were you, I wouldn't put up with that. A sibling would casually mention, I never really liked them, even if the other person has never done anything wrong or disrespectful. Then I'd make Instagram flood their feed with quote unquote perfect relationships to make them compare and feel unsatisfied. happy couples on vacation, grand romantic gestures, effortless love stories. They'd start comparing their real life relationships to someone else's highlight reel, and suddenly their partner wouldn't seem good enough anymore. And for the final touch, I'd ensure an attractive coworker, or perhaps an ex, or even a stranger at the gym suddenly take on interest in them. Not enough to act on it, just enough to make them wonder if the grass is greener somewhere else. I'd normalize emotional neglect. Love doesn't usually die in an explosion, it fades in quiet neglect. I'd make sure one or both partners slowly start prioritizing everything else over their relationship. Work would come first. They'd justify late nights and missed dinners as, just a busy season. Hobbies, friends, and even kids would take, precedence over quality time together. Conversations would turn into transactions. Did you pay the bill? Instead of, how are you really feeling? At first, they wouldn't notice, but over time, date nights would just disappear. Deep conversations would be replaced with small talk. Intimacy, both emotional and physical, would become an afterthought. And before they knew it, they'd feel more like roommates than lovers. I'd encourage resentment instead of resolution. I wouldn't just create problems. I'd make sure they never get solved. Every disagreement, every hurt feeling would go unaddressed and unresolved, creating a slow buildup of resentment. Instead of talking it out, they'd keep score. I always do the dishes. They never do anything. Instead of forgiving, they'll hold grudges. They didn't remember our anniversary last year, so why should I make an effort this year? Instead of expressing their needs, they'd expect their partner to just know. And to ensure maximum damage, I'd make sure they vent it to friends instead of each other. They get validation but no solutions, and slowly resentment will replace love. I'd tempt with short-term escapes. Once the relationship feels more like a burden than a blessing, I'd give them easy escapes. Hours on social media would become their go-to instead of real conversations. Drinking or partying would become more appealing than a quiet night with their partner. And worst of all, I'd make them believe that someone else could make them happier, that their struggles weren't normal, that leaving was easier than fixing. I'd whisper in their ear, if you were with someone else, you wouldn't have these problems. I'd whisper in their ear, you deserve better. I'd whisper in their ear, it's not cheating if you're just talking. Little by little, they'd emotionally check out of the relationship long before it ever, officially ended. I would also kill intimacy, both physical and emotional. Without intimacy, love fades. So I'd ensure they slowly stopped touching, stopped laughing, stopped truly seeing each other. Deep talks will be replaced with quick, shallow exchanges. They'd go to bed scrolling their phones, backs turned to each other. Physical intimacy would become rare, and when it happened, it would feel more like a duty than a connection. And without that physical bond, the emotional one would be even easier to break. Lastly, I'd slowly turn love into contempt. By the time I was done, they wouldn't even recognize what they had before. The things they once adored about each other would now annoy them. The way they laughed, well, it's now irritating. The little quirks they found cute, well, now they're unbearable. The flaws they used to accept, now they're deal breakers. I'd make sure they focus only on the worst moments, completely forgetting why they fell in love in the first place. They start rewriting history, convincing themselves that they were never really happy to begin with. And when that final argument came, when one of them finally said, I can't do this anymore, they would think it was their own idea. They think it was inevitable. But in reality, it was my plan all along. Me, the devil. I planted those seeds in their brain and let them water it themselves with my whispers. The best way to destroy love? Make them forget why they chose each other. I wouldn't need to rip them apart forcefully. I'd just create a slow drift, a quiet erosion, and before they knew it, they'd be strangers. Because the easiest way to destroy love is to let them destroy themselves. Wow. So now I want to take a moment to share my thoughts on this real quick. Understand that the devil's plan is subtle, methodical, and devastating. He doesn't need to show up with a wrecking ball. He just needs to plant the right seed and let them grow. A little doubt here, a little resentment there. And before you know it, the love that once seemed unshakable crumbles under the weight of pride, miscommunication, and neglect. But I'm here to tell you that he only succeeds if you let him. The Bible warns us in John 10:10. The thief comes only to steal, kill, and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. That's the enemy's goal, to steal your peace, kill your love, and destroy the foundation of your relationship. And the worst part, he does it, in such a way that you think that you're the one making all the decisions. So how do you protect your relationship? You guard your thoughts, right? Guard your thoughts, because the devil doesn't attack your relationship first. He attacks your mind. He plants whispers of doubt, seeds of comparison, and thoughts of entitlement. But you control, what you entertain, essentially. The Bible says in 2 Corinthians 10:5, we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. That means when a negative, thought creeps in, don't let it take root. Stop it, pray about it, and redirect it. Choose understanding over being right. One of the biggest, tricks that the enemy plays is convincing couples that they need to win arguments. But what's the point of winning if it means your relationship loses? Pride is the death of connection. The Bible, it reminds us in Proverbs 13:10, where there is strife, there is pride, but wisdom is found in those who take advice. So the goal isn't to be right, it's to be united. Keep God at the center. At the end of the day, no relationship can truly thrive without God in the center. Why? Well, because He is the source of love itself. If you rely only on your strength, your wisdom, and your understanding, you will fall short. But when God is the foundation, the enemy's plans, they will always fail. Jesus said in Mark 10:9, therefore, what God has joined together, let no one separate. That includes the enemy. That includes temptation. That includes anything that tries to break what God has blessed. And one final thought. Know that love is a daily choice. A strong relationship isn't built by accident. It's built with intentionality, prayer, patience, and persistence. The devil's plan only works on those who stop guarding their hearts, their mind, and their love. So, today, make a decision. Will you fight for what God has given you, or will you let the enemy steal it? The choice is yours.